Okay. We are all good.
All right. Guess we are ready to start. Good morning, everyone. It's a beautiful day on this 1st of February 2026. Amazing. Time flies. But anyways, welcome. Let's join this beautiful Bezerra Spiritual Healing Center Sunday service. And we appreciate all being here. The Bezerra Spiritual Center service respect all religions and spiritual traditions, especially with their contribution for the gospel, for the truth. So we appreciate that very much. But before we move on to the announcements, I'd like to ask our brother Brian to lead us on an opening prayer. Go ahead, Brian. Thank you.
All right. Can you hear me well? Can you hear me?
Yes, we're good.
Okay, good. All right. Okay. Dear Mother, Father God, Great Spirit, Great Mystery, the all-knowing, the all-loving, the all-expansive, we come before you today. Although we are always with you, always feel you, are always more conscious of you as we connect more with you, which is our intention today as well. May you bless this event. May you bless all the participants, incarnate and discarnate, who are participating. And may your blessings expand beyond the center of this event to those who are family members, loved ones, friends, and all our family, the fraternity of your children here on earth, in the spirit world, and all the planets that you've created for us to evolve on. No matter our state of evolution, we are all worthy of your love. We're all worthy of our love to all each other. May we open our minds, open our hearts, open our spirit, open our physical body to the current today, to the message today. And may the speaker be guided by their mentors, their supporters, as we support the speaker as well, with constructive conversation for the edification of all. God bless everyone. Thank you. And let's begin today's event.
Thank you very much, Brian. PSH is a member of the United States Spiritist Federations, which believes around scientific, philosophical, and religious principles of Spiritism as codified by Allan Kardec. Emmanuel taught that knowledge and love are the wings for our spiritual evolution. Today's service is divided in two parts. The first part is a speaking one, where the participation is very important. Your mentor is supporting with insights from the speaker, reflection, and working along with the week to sustain the energy that you are receiving while you're in the center. And the second part is a hands-on healing service that we do. We do have a weekly agenda. If you go to bshcenter.org/center, you'll find the definitions of the services that are provided. We have plenty of opportunities to be together with services and new classes. You can pick the day and days that suits your schedule better. So for instance, on Mondays, we have healing services, a daily prayer every single day at 6 p.m. and several others are group studies of the material that is presented by the Spiritist doctrine. But without any further ado, I would like to introduce our speaker today, who is Mark Carlos. He's an American born and bred, having now lived in multiple states and has experienced Spiritism since 2018 in multiple countries as well. Raised Catholic, Mark left the church at 16 and was dormant spiritually for almost 30 years. When becoming a father, he discovered power greater than himself, and life has not been the same since. A lifetime musician and technologist, Mark is now retired, focused on his spiritual development, and has learned enough to realize he is exactly where he's meant to be. He's still learning how to fly with both wings, knowledge and charity. So welcome, Mark. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. Adjusting the headset and microphone. Okay. I appreciate more than I can put into words this moment, this opportunity, February 1st, 2026, to bring us into the year of the fire horse with some pretty pertinent information, timely information. And is the case with many of us fortunate enough to get to share these types of presentations. I do believe that the schedule included spiritual influence, or as usually is the case, this hits home personally. These questions touched me in a way I was not prepared for as I put this presentation together. And the other thing that I want to remind everyone is that my nature is not to simply read the questions and answers as already written. I'm going to do a little bit of if you will, of Americanization, summarizing the key principles, and most importantly, speaking to the relevance of this information, recognizing that this was written in the 1850s, and yet it is perpetually pertinent. This set of questions covers the topics of selfishness, virtuous persons, and the principle of self-knowledge. So let's begin.
Mark, sorry.
And I was just going to say, I see a question a hand is up. Teresa?
You can see it.
I just wanted to say, I don't know, I think it's coming from you. There's like black strips over the your slide. So like I don't see I don't know, maybe it's just me. Do other people see that?
No,
Whether
yeah,
like
I saw that.
you can't read the title.
Yeah, just share screen again, Mark, exactly what you did, because I think it was a glitch.
Can you see the question?
No, now it's worse. No,
really?
It's going away.
Yeah. It's like blocks of just like black strips covering it. Do you have like notes to yourself or something?
Of course. And if you have the Spirit's book, I'm going to say this to begin the presentation anyway. If you have your Spirit's book with you, please follow along. Whether I've got a slide deck to show you or not, please follow along, because I most definitely I'm going to speak to the principles of each one of these questions. Okay? So I'm going to not even try to share. Gosh, it's been forever since I did a purely verbal
I think it's
presentation.
okay. You can share. It's just like it's just a portion of it that is blocked. We can still follow you.
Okay, give me a sec here. Okay, question 913. And again, I'm not going to read it literally. You can do that yourself as both the question and the answers. But I summarize the question in this manner. Of all the vices, which one is the worst? Or better said, which one is the root cause? And the answer is selfishness. Kardec and the spirits tell us selfishness is the root of all evil. All evil, all wrongness derives from selfishness. All. Hard to think of one that does not trace back to selfishness. And by the way, you will realize throughout this presentation, when we talk about selfishness, it is not just a singular person. It is not me. It is not you. Oftentimes, it's selfishness as a group of individuals, completely unconscious of the extent to which they are being selfish. And again, that's just a baseline perspective. Kardec calls this, and the spirits confirm it, it's the scourge of societies. And that word scourge is used not frequently, but impactfully. It is truly the basis for all that is wrong in society. In the technical sense, selfishness is completely incompatible with justice, with love, with charity. Or better stated, and you'll see this, God's law of justice, love, and charity. They just don't go hand in hand. You can't get to justice, love, and charity until selfishness is reduced or eliminated. And if we think of the ultimate goal for all spirits, to elevate to a level of moral perfection, if there's any shred of selfishness, you cannot achieve that level, that next level above where you are today. So selfishness, as we will learn, is a very critical part of living. A consciousness needing to be enlightened because there's so many different ways we have become accustomed to selfishness. On the long range impact, any other positive qualities we develop, we exhibit, they're neutralized if we continue to practice selfishness. Man, it ain't all about me. And you can all say that with me. Question 914. Will we ever be able to replace selfishness, uproot it from the human heart, from what we feel? Will we ever be able to do that? And so we most oftenly think of this human heart perspective in relationship of any kind, including the relationship that exists among and between us all in this spiritual family at this very moment. But here's the reality. As spiritists, we know about progress. We know that our daily efforts continue to enlighten us spiritually. So as we move forward in enlightened spirituality, we reduce our material attachments. We began with a life based in matter, and we focus our efforts while being enlightened to reduce being dependent on materiality. Here's a powerful one. As we progress spiritually. Around us, we are part of the Reformation. Entertainment institutions are now consciously needing to be altered. In so many cases, we blindly accept, tolerate, or are even ignorant to the erosion of God's moral laws. They're everywhere in entertainment institutions. And until we consciously move to reform them, this world of selfishness that exists in our heart will continue. And with that comes this phrase, excitable passions. Now, this one hit me hard. I'm finally coming through an age of putting my sports passions, my devotion to various sports teams and sports themselves, on a back seat. They are no longer my passions. I no longer get excited to the same extent. Yes, you all know I'm a lifetime 49er fan and always will be. But the extent to which I am passionate about that fan loyalty, it's nowhere near what it's been in the past. And it will continue to diminish. But that's just one example of how distracted we are societally. We have a volume of excitable passions. I used to be a motorcycle nut. A lot of us are physical fitness or diet nuts. Those are excitable passions. They're important to us. We express them as such. We need to tone that stuff down because it's rooted in selfishness. And we're going to talk about that. So, with all this evolving, with the goal of uprooting selfishness from the heart of humans, it becomes part of an educational curriculum. We are being educated, and the subsequent generations need to be educated in the right way at the right time, because they are going to witness the reduction in material attachments, the reformation of entertainment, the reduction of passionate excitations. They're going to see it. They need to be consciously aware of the appropriateness of all that shifting. Question 915. Won't selfishness always be an obstacle to attain human goodness? This section, as the spirits and Kardec have written it, are full of conscious admissions that this is part of who we are. We are inherently brought to this planet and living out of the womb with selfishness, with being part of selfishness. The systems, the family units, full of different selfish elements. To think that this will ever be gone is challenging. I think this earth is meant to deal with selfishness perpetually, because it will be a prominent obstacle virtually every day of our lives. No matter how many successive incarnations we experience, and of course, we don't know any details about the prior ones, but our spirit carried forward comes a bit more purified with each incarnation, a bit less selfishness, the same purification reality as all of our other impurities manifested during a previous life. Our mission in the current life is to get better, to progress, to eliminate these impurities. And so selfishness is just the biggest one, the most impacting, the basis for all the others. But faith, tells us that eventually we will get purified and the selfishness realities will diminish. And when that happens, our spirits evolve to be loving and charitable. And the spirits tell us this evolution from selfishness to being loving and charitable, it happens quiet, no fanfare, no, look at me, look what I've done, look what we're doing. No, 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 no. Our spirits don't need to promote ourselves. We just do. We just become. We go with the flow. But we are conscious of the purification that is taking place. In fact, I will tell you, writing this very slide, I realized my own evolution just in the 9 years of being part of BSH and Spiritism. I got to learn this word quietly. Question 916. Selfishness increases as civilization evolves. In other words, it's always going to be there. And in some cases, it gets more visible, more impacting as civilizations evolve. The question is, how can this cause destroy the effect? And that's, that wording really is challenging to understand. What is the question here? Well, let's try this. In principle, we have to go through this phase, this cognizant consciousness of being selfish and how it manifests into evil in a variety of different ways. We have to go through that in order to create a real need to have it eliminated. Wow. It's kind of like I have to get in a car accident in order to learn how to drive. I have to experience death in order to live. Whatever. But this is interesting because history shows this is how we have evolved to this very moment. We have to go through these periods of insane evil and selfishness in order to recognize the need to have it eliminated. And eventually, we will advance to not do evil on others and instead shift to that charitable, loving heart of helping one another. That's the natural progression. That's God's laws of progress. But boy, we have to go through a healthy amount of pain and suffering in order to get to that point. But in the end, we know it's already happening. The strong help the weak. And if needs are not being met, that lack of selfishness will provide the necessary elements for those in need. We've already shown this. The humanitarian aid that comes out of nowhere in the face of not government-driven response and reaction, human-driven response and reaction, or dare I say, spirit-driven response and reaction. Because eventually we will all practice the law of justice, charity, and love. It will happen eventually. I'm going to go through an awful lot beforehand. Question 917. What are the means for destroying selfishness? How do we go through the process over time, recognizing over multiple incarnations? How do we go about shifting, eliminating? It's the hardest one because it's so interconnected to everything humans are about. Our passions, tendencies from matter and materialism, our self has been more important than the other. We always think about ourselves unconsciously before we think of others. It's rooted in who we are as humans. And so, first step is to truly understand our affinity for material possessions. Because historically, we have evolved to this point. Our laws, our societies, our voluntary organizations, and our educational content is driven by selfishness and material possessions. We don't go to college without thinking we're going to come out with a degree and make more money. We don't envision our career as being stagnant. I'm not going to be a delivery driver for 40 years. I'm not going to be a warehouse worker for 40 years. I am driven for personal evolution, usually with a material mindset. New house, new car, etc., etc. The freedom to travel, the freedom to not worry about, can I afford this? We are all driven materially. And as children, our parents set the table for us. So parents, recognize what you are doing, the environment in which you raise your children, the manner in which they realize daily activities. How much of it is materially focused? Because underlying all of this, the child is going to feel me. I'm important. My things are important. Watch a child at Christmas time. They can't wait to get to the next package, the next toy. 1 minute, 30 seconds with one, and then it's on to the next. Not every family, not every parent, not every child, certainly. But boy, does that ring true. We are blind. We say the wrong things. We often hear the wrong things. And we continue to live in selfishness. I'm not beating anyone up. This is the spirit's perspective of human evolution, and it's spot on. Continuing this question, because it's so deep, what are these means for transitioning out of this selfishness reality? Well, those of you who know me, this is a hot button for me. This is ego, the root cause of selfishness. Spirits tell us in so many different books, publications, so many different spiritist presentations speak about cause and effect of pride, ego, and the resulting selfishness. But here's some optimism. As materialism focus dissipates over time, over multiple incarnations, selfishness will decline globally, not regionally, globally. We are already a globally connected planet. Technology is advanced to allow for that. Not completely, not perfectly, but it's a global reality. So digging into selfishness, the spirits tell us we need to mature our personality, because as we mature spiritually, there's an automatic waning of selfishness. I mean, this was where I looked at myself deeply within, and I kind of asking myself, am I the same spiritist I was 5 years ago, 3 years ago, last year, right now, compared to some point in the past? Have I been maturing? has my selfishness been reduced? It's a hard one to figure out. Some pretty obvious things to me, but certainly not consistent. Selfishness just jumps up all the time. And I don't need an accountability partner to do that. Spiritism has taught me and continues to teach me how to do my own report card. Stay tuned. Let's talk about the receiving end of selfishness. Because when we are victims of selfishness, we become selfish in defense. It's a natural human reaction. Kind of based in the eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth principle, thinking we've overcome it. We haven't. We haven't. You got to dig deep to find your own examples of how this has occurred. But I'll just give you one. Whatever happens these days in Washington, D.C., however it's reported, domestically or internationally, we in America respond and react. If we sense we are becoming in that moment a victim of selfishness, the tendency is to let the world know, social media posts, let my friends and family know, no, I don't agree with this. I'm being selfish in that communication. I'm being defensive in that communication. I'm sending this message, whether the words say it or not. This is wrong. This impacts me personally. I need to realize and tell the world how I am impacted. My opinion matters. Holy mackerel. For at least 5 years, I think it was COVID that really brought this to a head. And it exists to this very day. So funny to look back at 2021 posts where people were communicating to the world their opinions that, okay, maybe we're learning something. Maybe this is a wake-up call for us. And we get it. And here we are in 2026. I just shake my head. How foolish for us to think we got it. We got a long way to go, folks. We got a long way to go. But that does not dispirit me. Literally. That does not throw me into negative depressions. I see it as an opportunity. Get a hold of ego and pride. And shift to being there for others. Because that's the pivotal way to change from selfishness to the law of justice, love, and charity. I talked about reforms before. Reforms have to be governed by these principles of love and charity, fraternity, with an intention for moral transformation. It has to happen to our social institutions. We need to be open with them, less selectivity, no more requirements for admission. Anybody can come. Not only anybody in any skin color, anybody. This word less should say no selectivity. Countries and human relationships, one-on-one relationships, have to shift and begin to be governed by these principles of love and charity, fraternity, and transforming the morality of the prior relation. How, as an example, whatever the US and Russia have had historically doesn't mean that's how they have to negotiate going forward. Whatever difficulties I and an individual have had in the past, it doesn't mean our difficulties have to be dealt with in the same manner. And maybe those types of difficulties begin to be reduced And both individuals realize it because both are following the principles of charity, love, fraternity, and transforming our morality. Less selfishness. And this last one, you know, those of us who have charitable hearts, we know this. It's part of who we are. It's in our DNA. We care more about others than we do for ourselves. I'm blessed to be able to sit here today and ask myself, what did I do to deserve this sense of safety? I'm in the right place at the right time in this advanced age. I'm more conscious and more aware of living for others instead of myself than at any other time of my life. My self-awareness is off the charts. That's all due to my spiritual evolution. Okay, 918. What's the best way to recognize those wonderful qualities that elevated spirits have? How do we know? What do we see? What should we be looking for? Because these elevated spirits, once we become conscious, it's so obvious. They are different. They are not like others. They say things differently. And the effect of what they say and do is impacting. So I referenced earlier in this presentation the phrase report card. And so you're about to get a taste of what I'm talking about with that phrase, report card. So here are the qualities of elevated spirits. And as you look at this list, start doing your own personal report card. Look inside of how you ascribe to the law of justice, love, and charity. Do you have any violations? Do you really commit no evil? Do you do all the good within your power? Do you never get complaints? Do you do unto others properly, as you would want them to do unto you? Do you sacrifice your self-interests for others? Are you vain? Are you tolerant of others' weaknesses? Are you vindictive? Do you live by eye for the eye, tooth for a tooth? Or do you turn the other cheek? Do you really respect the rights of others as humans, as equivalent spirits in their own evolutionary path? Do you truly respect their rights, in particular, the right of free will? I go back to this because I can get lost in my own grading. And that tells me this is important stuff. Really important stuff. This is maybe my favorite slide in the whole presentation
Mark,
because,
just
yes.
very quickly, if you think that we are seeing your slides, we are not.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
I forgot.
it's fine.
I forgot.
Nurse.
Again, if you read the answer to question 918, and it is lengthy, but it is purposeful. And I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, but I'm going to get this slide deck posted for you all, or, I want you all to have this slide in particular, if not all of them. Because as I said, this is kind of like a report card that you can grade yourself on at any time. Do you practice the law of justice, love, and charity? With details. You don't violate it. You don't commit evil. You do all your good, all the good that you can within your power. You don't get complaints about what you do or say. You do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. You sacrifice your self-interest for others. You are not vain. You are tolerant of others' weaknesses. You are not vindictive. And you respect the rights of others, especially the right of free will. That's the list. And I just whipped through it verbally, but I want you all to look at it. Because it's just one slide that you have to look at and just quickly go through it. Because if any one of those points rings true for you, you have work to do, pure and simple. Okay, question 19, my favorite question in this entire effort. What is the most effective way for self-improvement and the avoidance of evil? This is the key to everything. David, tell us again your brand, your motto.
Know thyself.
That's it. The single most effective way for all of us to self-improve and to avoid evil is to be conscious of who we are in minutia. How do we do this? Well, multiple spirits, but in particular, Emmanuel tells us there are 3 steps: discipline, discipline, discipline. You must absolutely be dedicated to self-improvement. The avoidance of evil will take care of itself, but you must be disciplined to achieve consistently elements of self-improvement. The spirits tell us of a wonderful capability we all have. Whenever we go to sleep at the end of our day, whatever time that really is on the planet, examine your conscience thoroughly in what is called the nightly review. It is all about you doing something for yourself. Examine your conscience. Look at your past 24 hours and ask yourself, did you fail in any responsibilities, any duties, any things you were supposed to do? Did you or didn't you? It's kind of just a yes or no question. Any failures, any things incomplete? Examine your conscience and ask yourself, how important is that incomplete, undone failure to complete? In the course of your day, did you say or do anything that resulted in complaints, either communicated or not? Are you sensitive to what others have thought, how they have reacted, what they may have said to you or others? That is definitely a disagreeing point, a complaint. Something you said or didn't quite sit right. Examine your conscience. Did any of that occur? Were you successful in your goal of doing good? That's a yes or no. And equally important, in this same 24-hour period, consciously or unconsciously, did you cause any evil to be done? Were there any elements of selfishness in your words or actions? Think about all the people, all the systems, all the groups, all the websites, and so on, all the messages, all the texting, all the voice calls, all the interpersonal communications, regardless of content. Were you good, or were there shades of evil? directly traceable to selfishness. And here's a powerful one. Did you have any retaliatory style thoughts or actions against God or any other humans? Did something occur that you immediately called God as accountable or another human as the cause for that effect? Your judgments are selfish. If so, look at yourself. Look at the process you went through. Look at really the appropriateness of whatever happened. You needed to be taught something, but your response and reaction against God or others, what is that rooted in? That's not right. And in these questions, any failures? Any complaints? Any good or evil? Any thoughts or actions against God or others? As you answer those questions, they're just yes or no questions. If you struggle with the answer, just ask yourself how you would judge that question if it was done by another person. If you can't come to an answer of yes or no for yourself, think about how you might answer that question if it were done by another. You'll get to the answer. There'll be no hiding you from you. You will realize the areas in which you need to improve consciously. That is knowing thyself. End your night. This is a recommendation from the spirits and from me. End your nightly review with the continued discipline to pray. You are most likely wanting to pray for consciousness, for enlightenment, for clarity, for understanding, in order to better your position of knowing yourself. You're also going to pray for strength, for insights, to be able to look at yourself objectively, recognize what it is that needs to improve, and take the steps to improve yourself. And again, if you do this effectively, you really do get to the bottom line. It is rooted in selfishness, unconscious more often than not. And so in the presentation, I have this comment and a slide to demonstrate, an image to demonstrate. And the text says, self-improvements can elevate you above lower spirits, thereby avoiding evil. So just think of the visualization. But here's a stairway elevating you. And during your nightly review, and over time, you know yourself better and better. You are honest, candid in your conscience examination. You answer these yes or no questions easily, more easily with each passing night. Because there's no getting away from the reality of what it is you have to improve. But this image is beautiful because as you ascend the stairwell, you leave behind these dark clouds that you have passed over. These are the lower spirits. You are now avoiding evil by knowing yourself better, by being disciplined in examining your conscience. This chapter also includes some independent messages, not independent per se, but independent of Kardec's question and answers with the spirits. So we have now the spirit St. Augustine, who has given us a really impacting message for me, and I think for all of us. And I believe the essence of this message is that we should be intentional in all we do towards the goal of self-improvement. Not superficial, committed, disciplined, intentional, on a daily basis. One example of how we do this is we attend and participate actively in online spiritist meetings like this one. For many of us on this call right now, this is a huge priority in our life. Just like the 6 o'clock prayer, just like the 6:30 book studies, just like independently, whatever we choose to do for self-improvement. Just the strong message from St. Augustine. Commit fully, be disciplined, be intentional on a daily basis, not hourly. The nightly review after a day full of activities and thoughts. It's so appropriate. We are in a typically lying in the dark. It matters not if there's someone lying next to us. We are so alone in that moment as we think back to what has just occurred. And we honestly do a self-assessment. We examine our conscience. Now, again, I want you all to see this slide deck, and in particular, some of the most appropriate slides that the spirits brought to me as I was creating this presentation. So I'm going to read this to you, and hopefully you can grasp it because you don't have the visual. So consider this approach. And those of us at BSH, we've heard various presentations and snippet moments where this principle I'm about to share comes alive. How much time do you think you should be spending spiritually towards the goal of self-improvement? How much time on a daily basis? If you truly do become disciplined, could you see yourself committing to a discipline, and I'm going to throw a number at you, 2 hours a day? Not all in one shot, 2 hours a day in small amounts throughout the day. Just think about that for a second. Okay? A total of 2 hours a day. But throughout the day, you're doing minutes here, minutes there. And it accumulates to the point where when you lie down in the dark to do your evening review, you've already done what I'm about to describe. So consider this calendaring approach. Within the first hour of awakening, or maybe within the first hour or with the sunrise, spend no more than 15 minutes. Could be 2 or 3, could be 10, whatever you want, but no more than 15 minutes. Begin this session with focused breathing, slow, deliberate inhales and exhales, in a pace, in a rhythm that is soft, not fast, slow, deliberate. And as you get into the rhythm of deep, slow inhales and exhales, think gratitude. Move yourself into prayerful meditation around the concept of gratitude for who you are in that moment, first thing in the morning. How much you have to be grateful for. You're breathing, you're thinking, you're healthy enough to be conscious in this moment. And those of you who are practiced in meditation, feel free to have some soft music playing behind you. as you move into this moment, no more than a few minutes of your life, in focus, gratitude, prayerful meditation. It'll change the rest of your day. I guarantee it. Okay, move ahead with the day. You go to work, you go to school, you be a parent, you do whatever you normally do throughout the morning, and then sometime around noon or whenever, it's time for lunch. After you have replenished, after you have nurtured your body, if at all possible, no more than 10, 5 is just fine. Walking in nature. You don't have to walk through a forest, just go outside. And all you really have to do is just walk and be. Let nature take care of everything else. This is stabilizing. This is balanced. This is centering for the rest of your day. It is a self-improvement step. And it helps with your digestion. But that breathing that occurs during 5 or 10 minutes of walking, especially in nature. And by the way, you can do this in a high rise and just go up and down stairs and have pretty much the same kind of effect, because the oxygenation going in through your system is healing, and therefore self-improvement, even if it's only for a short duration. At the end of your workday, at the end of your school day, in these early PM hours, try to find a quiet place. Center yourself. Again, begin with deliberate, deep breathing. Now, you can do this alone. You can do this with another. You can do this in group. You can do this privately, or you can do this online. This is what we do at 6 o'clock every night. We come together in prayer. No predefined purpose of the prayer. It's whatever moves us in that moment. We frequently pray for the same things. Doesn't matter whether it's one of us or a volume of us. But we frequently are praying for the same things. And one thing is very clear. Those prayerful thoughts are usually not our own. We have very active spirits present during this prayerful moment, whether alone or not. In essence, giving us topics to pray about. There's a whole quantity of us that are sensitive to the reality of life, and we pray for things like homelessness, world peace, children everywhere, their parents, grandparents, communities, teachers, influencers. For the children of the world are our future. That's worthy, prayerful. They are worthy of prayer, just as we are for each other. So at this point, you've done 3 different things. You had a morning session, you had a lunch session, and now you've had an evening session. And you've already put in a half hour towards that 2 hours, maybe even more. But the amount of time is not the point. The point is the discipline of doing it, the intentionality. Here's the big piece. Block an hour if you can. Parents, this is a formidable challenge if you have young children. Block an hour out, 60 minutes. It could be when everybody else has gone to bed. It could be early in the evening. It could be done individually or collectively. It could be done as a book study online. But for 60 minutes, the goal is to intentionally read, view, listen, interactively participate in some kind of spiritual or spiritist content. There are so many sources for you to draw from. You love videos? Help yourself. BSH has a library. Other spiritist centers have a library. Kardec Radio has a library. Pick your topic. Do a Google search. You'll find a video to watch and listen to. For those of us who learn visually, read. Read the spiritual literature available. There's a plethora of stuff beneficial and directly relating to this concept of self-improvement. And again, I remind you, Sunday night through Wednesday night, BSH does this right after our half-hour prayer session. Our blocked half hour never runs that long. But we do 60, oftentimes 90 minutes of this focused self-improvement through book studies. Anybody is welcome to join us at any time. And then we have, again, the nightly review. Now, personal experience, some of you may know this better than I do, but, you know, my attention span, when I'm close to exhaustion at night, at whatever hour I drop into bed, I really can't go more than 15 or 20 minutes at the most, spending in this nightly review. Even with the most boring of days, even with the most back-to-back active days. Doesn't matter what I've done that day. I can go for about 15, maybe 20 minutes of examining myself, digging deep into my consciousness, recognizing the areas I have for improvement. Something wasn't quite 100%. Something is not yet finished. Something is not where it needs to be. Whatever. Okay? Don't be intimidated by that. The process of going through it, it becomes part of who you are the next day. It isn't forgotten. Your areas for self-improvement remain and become extremely obvious if you don't address them. One more thing, and I am guilty of not being disciplined for this. It's called the gospel at home. And the spirits advise us, and Kardec echoes this. The benefits of at least once a week, you grab the gospel according to Spiritism, and you grab it at the same day, at the same time, week after week after week. You can do this alone. You can do this with another. You can even do this as a family. But you pick up the gospel and you just open it. Totally let the spirits decide what page you're going to open to. You may open into the middle of a chapter. You may open at the beginning or end of a chapter. But you know what? You're close enough. Wherever you open that book to, whatever page you were staring at, you'll know if you need to go back a page to be able to read and get the full context. You'll know if you need to advance further down the paragraph that you're looking at, if there's something pertinent for you to read to yourself or to share with the others that are with you at that very moment. Because for certain, you are in connection with this, with your spirits at that moment. The spirits who guide and protect you. The spirits who are there to learn alongside of you. If you are disciplined in doing this, and it really does become part of your weekly routine, the benefits are astounding. You will see change, you will realize change, you will feel change occurring. The cumulative reality is sometimes off the charts. 4 weeks later, you'll turn to a page, and before you start reading that page, you immediately flash back to 4 weeks earlier and what the message was of that night. This is my experience. And how the last 4 weeks have been full of examples, opportunities relative to that topic, relative to all of that that was real in the moment and kind of forgotten afterwards until now. And over time, you begin to pay attention more diligently than ever before as to what the spirits are directing you to every time you do this. Again, there's a slide that'll walk you through this if you choose to follow it. Just remember, gospel at home. And I would just say this. This is an intentional part of a lot of spiritist centers in this country. I don't know if a lot is the proper adjective, but there are a number of them that make this a center duty. They host it online, and you can join them as you do the gospel together. Okay. I have a fun phrase to share with you. It's in this presentation. It came to me not as a thought of my own, but as I was doing this last slide, last 2 slides. So Allan Kardec, like St. Augustine, interjects his own comments after the spirits have spoken, after the question has resulted in a dictated answer. He does his own sporadically throughout the Spirit's book and other publications, his own messages to us, the readers. So on this topic of selfishness, Allan Kardec writes, despite our human efforts, and regardless of our good intentions, selfishness is and remains the source of all evils, the scourge of societies, impacting all humans. We've heard this already in this presentation. We've read this in these questions and others. Here's a new one. He says, conceptually, we need to fight selfishness as though it is an epidemic. Ooh, really? Pandemic? Well, what are the principles of fighting an epidemic? Identify all causes. By identifying all causes, remedies, more often than not, reveal themselves. That's powerful. If we know what causes selfishness, inherently, we can probably figure out how to change. What is the remedy? How to move from point A to point B. Concept. Kardec also says about humans, our nature is to seek contentment. We want this inner peace, this inner joy, happiness. And we will work hard to attain that contentment. We are not opposed to work. It's in our DNA. So if we are driven to understand these causes, it's because we are impacted, we are ill, we are sick, we are not where we want to be. And we will inherently try to cure ourselves. If we understand these causes, we will recognize quickly what needs to be done to eliminate these ills, these ailments, this angst, these sensations, these negative feelings, this depression, whatever it may be, because we seek contentment. Eventually, we learn selfishness is the root cause for all that ails us. It prevents happiness. And here's another one. It impacts our safety. Okay, here comes this catchphrase that a spirit gave to me. As I was doing this slide, there's nothing in here about this affliction we have for materialism. But here's the phrase that came to me. If we're serious about reducing our selfishness, transition our affluence into influence. As we shed our materiality, we influence others to do the same, but only if they realize the positive nature of our self-improvement. That's when they will say, hey, look at how much happier Mark is. Look at how much more he feels safe right now. He's nowhere near the selfish SOB he used to be. I just influenced someone. That's a little bit of a fantasy, but you get what I'm saying. Transition your affluence into influence. Again, I don't take credit for that. But here's what I do. Replace your selfishness with charity. That's right from the book. It's right in the text. Replace your selfishness with charity. Whatever you're doing today that you can identify as being selfish, identify what you can do to be charitable. And on the subject of know thyself, Allan Kardec writes, we humans fail without even noticing it. We don't even know we have failed quite often. We don't even know when we have been disappointing. We don't get any feedback. We don't get any indication. And even if we do our nightly review, we still may not be conscious. And so Kardec asks us to seriously look at what are our motives. What are we doing with each day, with each hour, with each minute? How are we motivated towards self-improvement? Better, towards knowing ourselves deeper, broader, more completely. So this is where the nightly review comes into play. This is where those personal report cards of examining yourself come into play. Because you really do get down to really simple yes or no questions. Did you or didn't you? Did you or didn't you do your duties? Not get complaints? And so on and so on. These wonderful yes or no questions. You don't have to write them down. You can be objective and subjective at the same time with yourself. But most importantly, for those no answers, for those answers that yes or no answers that are not what they should be, you should be able to quickly recognize those areas that need self-improvement with effort, with intention. And that's where you look at your motives. Are you really motivated for self-improvement? Or are you motivated to remain as selfish as you can quietly under the covers?
Brother Mark, I'm sorry, just the time. We are over 15 minutes to
I'm done.
16, sorry.
I'm sorry, thank you. I'm done. Remember this, self-education, self-awareness, that is the key to your moral progress. And again, I apologize for the visual aspect of today's presentation, but it was probably meant to be. And I open it up for questions or comments, or let's go right to healing.
Yeah, we most doesn't have much time. I'm so sorry for that.
Thank-
But it was good. Everything you brought is important for us that we meditating what you brought to us, or we have to have 2 minutes of break, and during the break or we can chat with each other. Thanks so much. I'm sorry for
No, thank you for
being
alerting me.
intruded here.
No, not
Very
not a
good.
problem.
I'll call that divine intervention. Thank you. Okay, Mark, thank you so much. And let's take a break right now. And we